I hope you already have it installed and working in your laptops. If that's not the case, please make sure that it is installed. And installing this is not that difficult. You just have to go on Google and find out local WP, and there is an installer file which you can download. And installation process is also very simple, straightforward. You have to just click next, next, next till you get to this screen. In the last demonstration, I had showed how you can start with a new site by clicking on this plus sign and selecting a few options in the wizard. I'm not going to repeat that, but rather straight away just launch the site we had created. That means the WP deployment we had done. And if I click on open site here, it will automatically start this. You don't have to explicitly go and click on the start button. But it's a good idea and an informed practice that you start the server first and then click on open site. The first run may take a while since it's starting the Apache server and running the MySQL database and connecting both of them together, but shouldn't take more than a few minutes. Yep. So let me go back. It says stop site now. That means it's running. I had clicked on open site and that took me to rajiv-portfolio.local. Now this extension is temporary and only for local systems. When you deploy it on web, it is going to be a different domain of your choice. So this is what it looks like. Fairly simple, clean, and not much of a information in the sense whether it's a web page or just a single, you know, now what WordPress offers us is a system which allows you to manage the content. Essentially, all websites, no matter which one it is and which tech stack is running in the background, consists of images, consists of text, links, and rich media. That means animation in the form of GIF animations or Lottie animations or videos embedded from various platforms or images. So primarily it's about text which you can read and visuals which you can see, and visuals could be either static, that means just an image, or it can be moving. It also can give access to the videos which we can control in real time. So how does this WordPress come in? This is the front end. So whatever we do at the back end will be visible on the front end. So this opens the site. This takes me to WP admin. Let me click on this. And then I remember the credentials at the time of setting up. I had given an ID and password to it. I'm going to use the same to log into the backend. You can verify that you are logged into the same backend by looking at the URL. It should say the same /WP-admin. And I'm just quickly gonna save this ID and password so that every time it doesn't ask me. This is how the dashboard looks like when you go into the backend of the WordPress. Now these are mostly just informative, suggestions from WordPress and a little, extension of what could be done quickly, such as quick draft, WordPress events and news, then the activities which is happening on this website, and overall site health, and at a glance, how many things do we have on the website. So I can see that I have a single post, a page, and a comment, and I'm running WordPress 6.9 and I'm using 2025 theme. Now, when I look at these informations, for a beginner, it would be difficult to comprehend what does post mean and how is it different than a page. Comment is understood, right? That if there is a blog post, people can comment on it. So does they can comment on the pages as well. Now WordPress 6.9 running 2025 theme. This is again a little cryptic, so we'll get into it and understand it at a deeper level so that we can truly master, and have authority over uh, the content we are putting inside. Content has to be displayed in certain way. There has to be a structure in the sense of what comes first, what comes later, where the images are supposed to be inserted. But apart from that, also content has to be structured in a visual hierarchy, right? What is the color of the title? How big the title should be, right? How would I want to render the links? And apart from that, also the layout. Will it have a sidebar layout? Will it have a two-column layout or three-column layout? What kind of layout do we have? All those things are controlled by theme. So theme dictates how the website is going to look and feel. By default, WordPress comes built in with a theme which is from WordPress. You can go to appearance and click on themes to explore more. So by default, they give you three options, and these are the three consecutive options WordPress by default will give you. That means the current theme, the latest, and the last couple of themes launched by WordPress. And they have a very clear nomenclature. They just pick out the name of the year the theme has been launched in, and they put the name as the theme name. So you can see that we have 2023, 2024, and 2025. That's how they have been using their themes. So by default, it will give the latest, theme, and you can explore the theme more by clicking on this, learn more about it, what it is, who designed it, and then you have an option of clicking on customize. What customization tells you is that there are components, there are sections in the website which can be tweaked up. And WordPress offers a fairly well way of customizing the websites. You can check here, if you click on styles, then you have option to typography, and you can pick out many things and work with it. And this is more like a exploratory sort of situation, wherein you do have understanding of what typography means, right? It's not like that I have to tell you, right? And if you click on that, you also see that there are elements, for example, text, links, headings, captions, and buttons, right? This is not also rocket science. We understand what text means. Text simply means the paragraph text we have here. So if I click on this and I start manipulating it, you will see that it's going to impact the normal regular text we have. So you can work with it and then come up with a theme of your own, uh, if you do not want to use any other theme than the default ones. So you have full customization options. There are limitations as well. As you start customizing it, you will notice that some of the features are not available, or you don't feel like a power user. For example, if I really want to change the way how the heading looks, we don't have much of an authority there, right? We don't want uh, this to be restrictive, given that we come from the design background and we are more concerned about the look and feel, right? And we would want to have our own custom headers, custom footers, and basically micro animations, want the site to behave in a different way. So in that case, we have two options, right? One is that develop a theme from scratch. That's also possible. That's possible using page builders, where you define your own theme. Page builders make it easier for us to define the themes. At the other hand, you have an option of defining the theme by coding, which will take a lot of time, not advisable, and a lot of expertise is required, and you'll have to learn PHP also, which is again itself a task in its own. So the first option, that you can customize by simply clicking the customize button of the theme you have used, and the WordPress themes offers this kind of interface for customizing. Well, so I'm gonna go back to the dashboard, and I haven't admitted or committed any changes. I haven't saved any changes. So it is still the same, right? Before we go on further to start understanding how themes could be manipulated, tweaked up, customized, let's try and understand how WordPress works, what's the content management system is about. So we have to understand the concept of posts and pages. Now, these things are very crucial in building up a website and ensuring that the dynamic nature of the content is preserved. So you could think of the pages as something which you don't change often, right? You don't change it often. The pages will have static content. That means whatever you define will remain same for all the people, whoever is watching your website. But then the pages can also have dynamic content within it. So there may be sections where dynamic content is pulled in based on the user's searches, based on the user's demograph or the user group you are assigning it to. A little complicated, yes, but I never said that web design is easy to do, right? Slowly and gradually. Don't get afraid of it, but rather try to grasp things one thing at a time and it will work out for you. So right now, think of pages as just a board, right? Where there are things, for example, let's say that this is a notice board. So I have written notice board, and below that I have written this is the place where all the uh, extracurricular information is going to be posted, right? Now this thing is gonna remain same for that notice board and will not change. But the notices which will be posted are going to be changed, right? And now in a physical board, I have to remove the old notices. For example, let's say that there was an event called ADW. ADW is over. Should I let that be on that? Or let's say that a new event is coming up. So I need to remove that, empty that space and put the new one. Okay. So what is happening in this case is that I'm replacing the content, not the page. I'm replacing the content with the new content. So you could think of the posts as the content which goes on the pages. The posts can have its own page also based on the categories. Categories is another thing which we need to understand. And there are two ways how you can grasp a complex subject. One is the concept level understanding of how this works, and another is just by doing it, acting more like a follower. I teach you steps and you do the things and over, right? So I'll tell you what ideally should be the case when we are here in the class. You should try to focus more on the conceptual part, because the practical part you will have ample amount of time. Even after the module is over, you can always practice, you know but the concept part is hard to find even on YouTube or any other websites. The conceptual understanding of the platform, because tutorials are there, right? They are not giving you lectures, they are giving you tutorials, and there is a difference between that. Tutorials just make you follow steps so that you can achieve certain results. Now those results definitely give you instant gratification that I did this, but did you actually do that? Because you simply followed somebody else's instructions step by step. But when you look at things from the conceptual angle, where comes in lecture, and that is what we are meant to do in the class. Of course, the demonstrations are going to be there, but you should focus on the conceptual aspect of it. What I'm going to define next is a basic fundamental level architecture of how WordPress works. Okay. And if this concept is clear in your head, then the practical thing would be more related to just finding stuff within the backend and fiddling around with that and getting things done. Okay. So let's try and understand that. Well, this is the worksheet I have been maintaining throughout the demonstrations, and this is what we had done last, just to give you a quick glimpse of how we are building up our knowledge in terms of dealing with the design and digital domain. We have already done these parts, right? Okay, so let me go further and begin with WordPress. Now, before WordPress comes in, a broader umbrella, a top level thing comes content managed systems. Let me write it in full. Content management systems. And there are many. We are learning WordPress, that's a different thing. And there are many in open source. There are closed source content management systems as well. The example is Shopify, right? You don't have access to the codes, but it gives you option to put your content and convert that into a website where you can sell in your products. So that is also a content management system, but a paid one, not a open source one, but a closed source one. WordPress, at the other hand, gives you two options to choose from. Either you can go for .com, that's a paid service, or you can go for .org. So this is commercial version and this is open source. What open source means here is that the code is available for all to utilize, manipulate, and publish as your own. But the WordPress core, whatever you have used, remains copyrighted to the WordPress.org. You can't claim that this is my code, right? The modifications you have done can also be presented as a theme. That's okay. Now, after this, we have started exploring this. Now, since this is a content management system, for each of the content management systems, there is an architecture that we must understand. And when I say the term architecture, it simply refers to the schematics, how it works. For example, if I say that this building has an architecture, you can appreciate that architecture in terms of the aesthetic, the functionality, the accessibility of the entire building. And there are many factors. So in the same way, when I say architecture of WordPress, I meant exactly the same. How content can be structured and presented, accessed by end users, accessed by the admins, those sort of things. So let's look at that. How a question comes, how WordPress manages or organizes the content. That is a question we should ask. In both the cases, it's going to be true. That is why I haven't, pulled a leg from here, but rather went to WordPress. So it organizes in pages, posts, comments. Now this comes inbuilt with WordPress, right? These three things comes by default, inbuilt by default. That means you don't need any additional plugin to utilize these features. This comes as the part of the package. However, more things can be added to it with the uses of extension. So I'm gonna just pull it here and say plugin based extensions. So we can have products, okay? We can have forums and many other things. But these are the two primary use cases I have seen when people tried extending the utility of WordPress. Let me just quickly wrap this up in box. And there are many other also. Now our target here is to first understand how this functions. And if we have clarity on this, then these will naturally come to us. We will not have to struggle hard to understand these part. Okay. So you could think of pages. Let's say this is a page. Okay. And this page will be, sorry, this page will have content. And the content can be static or dynamic. We must understand the difference between what a static and what a dynamic content means. Anything which is being served by a database and can change based on user query should be thought of as dynamic. The static content are usually embedded in the page itself. That means it's hard coded onto the page. You don't have to pull it from a database. Okay, so that means it comes as a part of the code for the page, the static content, and the dynamic content can change. So let's go back to the same example, the notice board example. We have a notice board, and in the notice board, it's written, uh, let's say, upcoming events. Now, this upcoming events will remain static, right? The title is going to be static, but the content in the upcoming events, for example, like let's say that there are three recent upcoming events are being shown. So with time that may change, a new event may arise. So do we go and then keep on editing those events? No, that's not the right way to do it, but rather just simply post those events. The word comes post now. The posts could be used as dynamic content and can be pulled in to represent it on the pages. Okay, so post could be thought of as dynamic content when they are displayed on pages. Now, यहाँ पे I'll give you an example. For example, there is a section header, could be recent events, reduce the size. Now this is going to be static, but oh, let me just put it here. But if I have three different posts here, 1, 2, and 3, this is recent events, a section header, and maybe some, let's say, descriptive text of what this section is about. So all of it could be thought of as a static content. So that means if I need to change this, I'll have to go and edit that. But for these posts, it's dynamic, and that means can be pulled off from a, a let's say a collection of posts. In I want to avoid the technical jargons. Pulled off from a collection of uh, posts, and then it can be displayed. Now, pulled off from a collection of posts and can be displayed on the basis of taxonomy. Another thing, taxonomies. Now, what taxonomies are? It's basically a rationale for segregating things in categories. For example, I can have a taxonomy of everyone who wears a spectacle in the class. And if I filter content on the basis of that, I'll be very easily able to segregate people. People who wear specs, right? Then I can have another taxonomy, people who are wearing sports shoes, right? These kind of taxonomies can be there. So we can of course build custom categories, but by default there are some taxonomies which are attached with all the posts. Okay. So those are post ID. We have categories, and categories needs to be defined. By default it will not have a category assigned to it. Then same goes, we have tags. Post id is automatically defined, so no need to worry about it. Now understanding taxonomy becomes important. Take a second. Okay, so yeah, so taxonomies are essential for segregating the dynamic content and are the basis through which it can be pulled onto a page. Okay, so taxonomy is used for filtering out content to be displayed on a page. So here it says recent events. That means a category recent events can be created and assigned to the posts which I want to pull up here and then show on this page. Similarly, I can have different posts. For example, I can have uh, best events or global events, and that could be another category which can be hooked up with some of the posts. And I can have another section called, for example, here I can have another section with uh, global events. Okay, now there may be a scenario where a recent event is also a global event. That's a possibility, right? So what do we do in that case? Now, all the global events cannot be the recent events, but the recent events can have some global events. So that kind of relationship can be addressed by using tags. Okay, so we will have dual layer of taxonomies working for us. That means we can have a category called events, and within which we can have tags such as recent and global. So if, let's say, I have a post, for example, let's say that this is a post, and which simply means that it has some content. Post. Okay, it can have some images, it can be something. So a category can be defined for it called events. That means all the events which are there in my website will have an event category assigned to it. Then I can go on further and then assign it tag. And those tags could be recent events, or simply I can say recent because event is already there as a parent category. So I can say recent, global, national, etc. If I need to fill up these, I can simply assign the taxonomy of events followed up by the recent. Okay. Now a post can have just one category, can have multiple categories assigned to it, and can also have multiple tags assigned to it. Did I close it accidentally? Sorry. And that we will see in action when we start defining things inside WordPress. So for now, I think the conceptual grounding of how content is organized in WordPress, we are clear, right? We'll be looking very uh, carefully how the pages work, how the posts and how the comments are there. So let's get into the backend, and we will go and then first start with a post. So we already have a sample post and I have four options here. I can view it, I can edit, I can quick edit, and I can thrash this. So what these actions mean: edit will take it to the editing mode and load up the editor, the default editor, which is known as block editor. Okay, the WordPress comes built in with an editor which allows you to edit pages, posts, or any content you are putting in your website. You can read more about it, whatever it says. I'm just gonna close it. And this editor is straight away fairly simple. You click and then it allows you to type content and populate it with a variety of rich media as well as custom components. Where do I get those custom components? We just need to click on this plus sign and there is a huge list of things you can simply drag and drop. For example, if you want a quote and if you hover on top of it, you'll also see a small preview of how it's going to look. Okay. And they're growing this library day by day, by the way. So for example, let's say that I need to put an image. I simply have to drag it and then drop it. Then upload and upload an image and done. Then you will have some control of resizing the content. So you can work with that. Then you have some options here and these are pretty much intuitive. So either you just try working with it and then try finding it on your own. Uh, but there is nothing rocket science here, to be honest, right? Uh, if you have some understanding of coding, you will be able to understand what these things mean, right? And you also have an option of editing this as an HTML. So this is how you can edit in HTML, or click on edit visually and then edit visually. You have option of cropping the image, linking it with something, or applying a duotone filter on it, or aligning it in a different way. And then you can also use these arrow keys to move the content up or down. So this is the block editor, a really good one. And I prefer to use block editors for only editing the posts, not the pages, because I would want the pages to look in a different way. And I create custom layout for my pages and posts also using the page builder. elementor, and I'm going to show you the same. So for now, I think it would be a good exercise to begin with. You should try to create a post using block editor and then preview it how it looks. So I simply just typed a few things and then inserted an image. I can go on and create more stuff here. Now if you're saying, sir, this is space I need to reduce, this is space I need to reduce, then you have to be smarter in choosing the images or be able to manipulate things by using codes. Let me just pull up an image which does not have white area surrounding it. So this image has a lot of white area. So you could use a PNG image also in that case. But I'm gonna pick something which is, oh, let's pick this one only since I have this one. Yeah, so this comes really nicely aligned. On the right hand side, you have option of editing these contents by changing some of the properties. So if you click on this, you will have the option of either you can do the edit at the post level. That means it's a global setting for the entire content. And you also have block level. These are the blocks. So this is a block. This is also a block. This is also a block. So based on which block you are active in, it will give you the information. This is a paragraph block. This is an image block. And similarly, you will have all these separate blocks which you can edit. Very limited settings, but most of the time works well. So I'm going to select this image and then let's look at the options we have here. In the block settings, aspect ratio, it says original. I can switch to a square aspect ratio. What it does, it doesn't crop the image, but rather puts it in a div and then applies the image sizing to cover. I can go for standard, portrait, so many options I have. Okay, I can go for 16:9 also. And notice how intelligently it's not squishing the image or distorting the image. It's rather just creating a div and trying to cover the entire image by stretching it inside without changing the aspect ratio. So that's intelligent. I'm going to go with this one. Then I have width or height. I can manually define it also. I can choose the scaling to cover or to contain. Okay, simple standard. Then the resolution. I can choose large, medium, thumbnail. Remember, I asked you guys to remind me about the image optimization, but thankfully nobody did. So I'm not going to cover that. Nobody has reminded me to cover image optimization. I would have taken a different session for that, but now I'm gonna skip it because you guys are not serious in learning that. Now WordPress automatically does it for you. So you can choose a thumbnail which will reduce the size and the WordPress engine takes care of the optimization. What it does is it creates a version of the image and then caches it. Okay. So when the user requests it, it loads the image from the cache. It's faster that way. Then you have advanced where you can define HTML anchor, add additional CSS classes and use that for defining in the codes. But for now, I think this much is enough. There is a setting called alternative text, which is same as writing code for alt text. It's important for accessibility. Okay. So you can type, it's a good habit and it's a good SEO and accessibility exercise. Also falls in line with the WCAG guidelines. Uh, so it's an ideal scenario that you should put alternative text for all the images which you have used. Okay, but not a deal breaker. So if you don't do that, it's not like that the website is not going to get published. Okay, you may have a slighter, lesser optimization in terms of the SEO. Yes. Hello. Yes. Very well. So we have a title, we have some content here and an image. I'm gonna save this and I'm going to look at it how this uh, looks. So by click on view post, it will open it in a separate page, and I can see that this post is there. It shows that who has written it, and in which category it is, and shows the content I just put there. Okay, let me close this and go back. So I just edited the same post. I can also access some of the settings, quick settings, by clicking on quick edit and change things like the title of it. Yeah, so changing the title here, let me see if this also updated, and let's click on edit and notice that the title is connected with the body of the post and allows you to quickly change the title. Now this slug information is primarily the same thing as title, but is it uses hyphens to connect the words, because this is what is going to be visible in the address bar. So you can choose your own slug, but if you don't choose anything, what WordPress will automatically do is take up the title and remove all the empty spaces and then replace it with hyphen so that it becomes URL friendly. Okay, I'm just going to update this, and then let's come back to our main page. You can, yeah, there is this front end I have. If I refresh, you see that now WordPress is built for blogs. Hmm. Understand this. So by default, when you open a WordPress website while building up, it will not show you the pages, but rather the blog archive. So here also, when I open this, it shows me the blog archive. I do have a sample page which I can go to. Yes. But by default, it opens the blog archive. We may not want it. You can think of all the blogs as your separate projects in your portfolio. But we don't probably want our users to come to our website and start, get greeted by one of the recent projects I have done. I probably want some nice page, right? uh, the way we have built our portfolios otherwise. That is how we want to curate it. So rather than showing a blog post, I would want a static page to be shown on the home page. It can be the sample page we are working with, right? So that is a setting we can change by going to the settings and then choosing reading. And here you have two options. Your home page displays your latest post, or it displays a static page. So I can click on this and change the home page to sample page. But in this case, I also have to tell WordPress where the blogs are going to be shown. Since we do not have any other page than sample page, it would be a good idea to create a page dedicated for the blogs, right? So let me just say save changes for now. Quickly go to the front end, and if I click on refresh, given that I am targeting the home page, I should see the content of the sample page here instead of the blog. Let me refresh it, and exactly that happened. Now if I go to the site, I am greeted with the sample page I have, and I can change the content, right? The bad part is that we lost the blog. How do I go to the blogs, right? So what if I have another page here called blogs, where all the blogs are put? Let's try doing that. In order to do that, we have to create a page. So I'm going to go to the page, and by default, it will give you two pages. One is sample, which is published. Another is a privacy policy, and it's in the draft mode. As long as it is in the draft mode, it will not be visible on the front end. I'm gonna click on add page and give it a title blog. Okay, and simply publish this. and go back. So I have a blog page here. I can go back to the settings, go to the reading settings, and then post page, I can target the blog and then say save changes. Now this theme is configured in a way that it automatically fetches all the pages which we have created and displays it as the navigation. Hopefully it should do that. And it does the same. Now we have a blog, we have a sample page, right? If I click on the blog, it takes me to the blog. If I click on the sample page, it takes me to the sample page. I can change the name of the sample page by simply going to the pages and quick edit. And instead of sample page, I would like to call it home. And in the slug also, I'm going to change it to home to avoid any confusion. If I refresh, I see a home and a blog, right? So easier than how we used to build websites, right? So far, so good. I'm gonna spend very minimal time in explaining how block editors can be used for creating page layouts because it's very limited. For simple basic websites, it may work, and you have a lot of templates you can explore as well in WordPress. By saying template, I mean, and before that, let me address one thing which probably is your concern. Uh, okay. So I think a lot of people would be wondering, sir, how can we bring the home first and blog later, right? So that setting is there, right? But not so conveniently available for the theme we are working with. There are themes which allows you to edit the menu, but this one is not offering it in the backend. So let me just quickly click on customize option here, edit site. No. We have cause no, we can't. There must be some way, but it's complicated. I'm not gonna take you there. But rather we will work with a different theme which offers us better options and controls. So let's go and then quickly install a theme, and you can do that by going to the appearance themes and click on add themes, wait for it to load, and we will be using Elementor eventually. So I'm gonna go with this Hello Elementor theme. Notice this is how it looks. There are many other Hello themes as well, but you need to install Hello Elementor because we will also be installing Elementor plugin. Okay, so I'm gonna click on install. You can also use Astra, by the way, that's compatible with uh, Elementor, and I'm going to activate this. So it is recommending me to install Elementor as well. That's a good thing. But let's see what happened if I installed and activated Elementor. Make sure that you have these are also installed, but these are not activated. It was earlier active, but one thing can only be active at the time. So when I installed Hello Elementor and activated it, it automatically got deactivated. So right now our website is taking use of this particular theme. So let's quickly check the front end. This was the earlier theme. If I refresh, we must expect some changes, right? Let me refresh. Feels as if things broke, right? We lost the navigation, we lost so much of the footer is gone, right? But this theme also brought in many possibilities. If I refresh this and go to the appearance, earlier we had just the option of themes, right? And now we have option of menus. So if you click on menus, it will take you to a menu builder where you can create a menu. So I'm going to create a main menu. Click on create, and this will be displayed on header and will have these two options I can add to the menu, and I can drag it on top to put it in a sequence. I can save the menu. If I come back and refresh, I should have home and blog ready to. Let's click on the blog, takes me to the archive, but this is how it presents the blog. If I click on it, it opens up on a separate page. So a very rudimentary basic level of navigation I have. Now a theme we have installed, but this home page is not looking nice. I should be able to make some changes to it, right? So in order to do that, we will use Elementor. I'm gonna click on this and it does the same thing, but let me just close it and show you the proper way. You can go to the plugins and click on add plugin and then search for Elementor, and look at this option here. It says Elementor website builder, more than just a page builder, right? So I'm gonna install this. There are a lot of add-ons. Plugin can have add-ons. That means plugins will have limited uh, free features which can be surpassed by adding more add-ons. But you should limit the add-ons because unnecessary you are gonna bloat the website and the performance will not be so good. So uh, using plugins are fine, but also try to limit the number of plugins you are using. By the way, you can build your custom plugins also. Um, So I have installed and activated it. It is asking me to create an account. I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to buy the Elementor premium version. That is costly and for the demonstration not required. So I'm gonna close this, which takes me back to the WordPress. And now I see Elementor overview in my dashboard, right? Not interested into that. I'll just collapse it. But I want you to see that there is this option called Elementor and I have two options emerging from that. One is home, one is editor, right? And the third option is upgrade. Well, so now if I go to my pages and hover on top and click on edit, I have this option called edit with Elementor. Earlier it was not there because of the plugin I had installed. I can click on edit Elementor, edit with Elementor, and which loads up a environment where we can build our web pages. Looks similar to, not similar to Figma, Webflow or Framer, much simpler, but really powerful. So the content which was earlier there taken from the block editor is preserved, but has been converted into a section which we can delete, remove, edit, whatever we wish to do, we can do that. On the left hand side, you will see elements. Elementor comprises of various elements which can be arranged on the page and then tweaked up further for styling it and giving it some behavioral tweak ups. Well, so in this case, this content, for example, if I want it to be in two columns, all I have to do is select, click on this, and then look at the options I get on the left hand side, right? I have a text editor, which allows me to change the content any which way I want to. And I'm just going to show you very quickly the power of this, that if I want to break it in two columns, all I have to do is go to the columns and then choose two columns and it's done, right? It's that simple. The column gap in between, if I want to adjust, I can simply increase that and column gap can be addressed like this. I want a drop cap, I simply have to click on this, I'll get a drop cap. So this level of control you have over the formatting and much more. You can go to the styles, you can change the paragraph spacing, you can work with the typography. So it's pretty much like a regular software which helps you build layouts but better optimized for web pages. I'm going to just get rid of this entire thing, and this home, I'll just completely wipe off everything. And I also don't want it to show home, right? I don't have to shout that you are on the home page. So there are page settings I can change by going to this option here. Let's click on the page settings, and then I have this option of hide title. So I can click on this. Yes, I want to hide the title and publish it. If I go to the front end, I'll have a clean, clear page with a top navigation ready for us. And it's about what we put here as a content and how do we lay out it for our purposes. You can click on add elements anytime to switch back to this mod where you can find out things to be added. Let's make it a 3-column layout. And if you scroll through it, then you will notice that there is a section called Pro. And there are a lot of tools which are logged. And we will not have access to that because we are using the basic version of Elementor. But if you upgrade, you will have option to those as well. There are ways how you can hack that and then get the pro version for free. I'll teach that only if I see that you guys have used the free version tools to its maximum and you really need those pro features. Even for our purposes, in the general, for the kind of websites we are building, I think good amount of tools are available to us. Okay. So for example, let's say that I want to have a hero image at the top, a big, huge image, right? So what do? We simply start with a container, right? Go back to the codes and the concept of container. Container is used for putting content inside, as simple as that, right? And containers can have a background as well. So you can click on this plus sign and it will ask you which layout do you want to use. Do you want flexbox or do you want grids? You are aware of both if you have paid attention to the first few lectures. So I can go with either flexbox or grids. Since I want to build up a hero section, which will require a container and a background to be applied on that, I don't want to use the grids. The grids are better for distributing content within the container. So if I have a container within which I want to display the content evenly and in a way that it adapts to the screen sizes and rearranges itself, I'm gonna put grid inside that. For now, I'm gonna use a flexbox and then I have some layouts to choose from. I'm gonna choose this one and I can select this and then come here and define the width. The width by default, let it be what it is, right? Because it's optimized for most of the screens. If you want it not to be boxed and stretch end to end, then you just have to change the content width from box to full width. Okay, let me just put some image here and then I'll show you what happens if I put boxed and what if I change it to full width. Okay, and there is this minimum height. We need to define that. Otherwise, what will happen? Remember, go back to the codes. If you put something as a background image and don't define the height to it, it will not show up. Okay, it will not show up. So here you have 3 tabs. Layout controls the layout of how the content is going to be organized in it, or it organizes with rest of the contents. Style takes care of the background overlay, border, shape divider, and such properties. Then comes the advanced. Advanced gives you more fine-grained control over the layout, motion effects, transform, responsiveness, attribution, and custom CSS classes can be defined. And in paid versions, you can write the CSS code there itself. But for the free version, there is a different way of addressing the CSS requirement. And if interested, I'll show you that as well. For now, let's focus on styling it by going to the style tab and then choosing a background tab. You have so many options to choose from. You can go with a static background, which comes in the classic category. Then you have a gradient. you have a video, and you have a slideshow which you can put in the background as well. So many options and just accessible via some buttons. So I'm gonna go with, let's say, gradient, and I want to fill this up with a gradient of um, I want some warm colors here. So let's go with this dark red and let it blend with slightly softer version of the same color, or slightly maybe darker color of the same, no, just to add a little dynamism to it. Of course, you can do a much better job than this. Here the intent is to show you the possibilities as soon as I can. And then you have option of setting up the location and changing the angle as well. Now in this case, I think, let me, yeah. So this is what happens if you change the angle. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with this. Okay, and the location makes it smoother or sharper. Now I can publish this, and if I go to the home page and refresh, I see this line here, and that's also showing up because there is by default some padding applied on it, right? If I remove the padding by going to the advanced and then just click on this to reset the padding and publish it again, even that line is not going to be visible. We had created a container, applied a background color, but never gave it a height. So in absence of the height, it does not exist on the web page. No height means no existence, right? Let me go back and then click on this section, go to the layout and make sure that it has some minimum height applied to it. So I'm gonna go for about, let's say, 600 pixels. You can define the height in a variety of measurement conventions. Pixels is not so much of a good idea, but for the demonstration, I'm gonna stick to this. You can use VH or REM, which are comparative measurements conventions. After publishing it, if I refresh, I should see a nice hero section, and now I can put content into it. Putting content is extremely simple. You can click on plus sign, and let's say I want a heading to be inserted here. I can drag the heading. I want some paragraph text to be inserted. I can insert a text editor and place it here. I can style the content by selecting those elements and going to the style, and then choosing a different size, a different font for it. Let's say I want to go with a this horrible font. Let's not choose that one. Maybe this is also horrible, by the way. Yeah, let's stick to this. So you have all the options. You can make it bigger also. Now I think the color is horrible. Let's change the color. We'll go with black or white. Oh, white seems nice. Okay, and if I want to align it to the center of the container, I'll have to select the container and then go for this justify content settings. And here I have this option of sending the content to the center. Okay, and I can style this also in the same way by going to the style and then choosing a different size maybe for this. Yeah, let's go for this size, and I want it thinner, and I want it of a different color, maybe white. White looks nice. And then I don't want it stretching all the way to the box content, but rather just staying here. So I can select this, go to the advanced settings, and there I have an option of width. So I'm gonna go for custom width and go for 50%. or maybe let's say 70%. And let's publish this, and there is your web page coming up. You can insert images as well in the same way. So let's try creating a new section. Or if you want, instead of a solid background, an image, that can also be done. You can change the background anytime by selecting the section, going to the style, and then instead of this, you can pick up classic and click on this to pick an image. Let's say I want to use this image in the background. I think the file name is creating issue. Let me just quickly change the file name. Got uploaded. Let's select this and the image goes there. You have option of uh, placing the image by using the position here, and you can go for center or any of the other settings. You can go for center left, center right. I think this makes more sense. And you can have a scroll attachment or a fixed attachment also, that will be visible when we have more content and we can scroll through it, but at the time I'll just let it be. And the display size should be cover, and let's publish this image. Okay, similarly you can drag and add more content here. So for example, I want a section for the introduction. I can simply go to the plus, and this time I don't want any container as such. I'll simply just drag a heading, and heading can be placed here. Now the thing is, the elements cannot survive independently. It has to be a container. So either you create a container and then drag things, or you can simply drag and drop things as well. I need some margin to be added. So I'm going to click on this, go to the advanced section, and there is this margin. First, we need to break the link so that the margin is only applied at the top, and I'm going to apply a 100 pixel margin from the top. I can go in further and style this text. In fact, for example, let's say I want all the headings to be of a different of a particular color, then I can define a color of my own choice by clicking here, and let's say that I want this color for all the headers. So I can click on this plus sign here and define it as a header color H1. So this is available to me from this menu here, header color H1, and can be quickly applied to it. Same goes for typography. Here I can click and then go for a certain kind of weight and a size which I want for my headers. And when I'm happy with the settings here, I simply have to click on this and then call it header text H1. So initially, while building up one single page, you may define these styles for all. And next time, if you need that, you can simply use, for example, if I want another header somewhere and I want to style it in this way, uh, I can simply select this and go to the style, and Instead of going here and editing those things, simply come here and choose header text h1 and header text h1 color. That's convenient. Another convenient thing is that you can simply right click, copy here, and right click and paste style. Okay, so let me just close this, publish, and show you quickly the content we have added are visible here. So this is how incrementally you can build up your web page. I'm gonna show you another thing, how you can add some image boxes here and some of the basic things you can quickly insert. So for the image boxes, I'm gonna go with a grid layout, and I'll use a 3x3 grid, and I'm going to insert image box in this and copy this, but I'll copy this after I have styled it. So let's click on this, and the image box comes with a variety of settings. You can go to the style and look at the image spacing. The style usually addresses all the components within an element. We have used edit image box as an element. So within that we have a box, an image, and some content. So let's expand the image, and I want it bigger and acquire 100% of the width of the image box. And then I want some border radius to be applied on it so that the corners are softer. I can apply some CSS filters on it. Since there is no image, it's just a placeholder. I'm not going to do that. Then comes content, and I have the choice of changing how it looks, and basically all sort of things you can think in regards to changing this are available here. You just have to play around with it to figure out how it can be done. You can go to the content and choose the image from here. I'm just gonna pick this one, and you can choose whether you want to show the full resolution or you want to go for a smaller version of it. So I'm gonna go for let's say this one. Optimizes the image, makes it load faster, and here you can change the content. So where it says this is a heading, you can change it here. Okay, and the description can be changed here. Let's go to the style, and the image position and the box settings are available here. So I can change like this, or like this. I can change the alignment of the content as well. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. And then you have, of course, image spacing, content spacing. So this is just an example of how the tools or elements kept here work. You can explore others. You have image carousel, icon box, basic gallery, progress bars, and so many other things to play around with. I want to copy the same content on these two. So I'll just copy, right click, paste, right click, paste. As easy as this is. Okay. And for the grid settings, I can click on this and see I have two columns, three columns. I can have two columns if I want, and accordingly the content organizes itself, and that's the power of a page builder clubbed with a powerful content management system. So if you refresh, here is your web page. Okay, nice. I'm gonna go back to three column layout, and you can also work with the gaps you want. So if you want to increase the size, the gaps here, so for the column, let's say if I want 50 pixel gap, I can do that and add more space in between. The content will organize itself accordingly. Okay, let me go back and then just quickly pull out another, let's say for example, a progress bar I want, right? So you can set up things here. Nice. And you can make copies of it by duplicating it, which will add another progress bar. And then you can of course style it in your own way. uh, the height of the progress bar, and it's better that you do one first and be happy with how it is styled, and then later make a copy of those and then change the content. Now somebody wondering, sir, will it always be the full width? Can I place it in the half? Yes, you can do that. Let's start with a new container and have a 2 column layout, and you can drag these simply onto this. That's the power of WordPress. Let's add a little top margin to it, about 50 pixels. And see here, this is how it is getting arranged, because the direction of the arrangement of content is this way. We need to change it to this way, and it can be done. Okay. Now I think I made a mistake here. I had 2 columns, but it got separately inserted in between those columns. I should simply click and then put it here. No, let's try putting it here. It should work. Yeah. And then you can go on and then change it. So if you want this label, show the label. Otherwise, you can hide the label and simply uh, put the text here, whatever you want. Web designer. Let me go to this, hide this, and let's say developer. Okay, and I can give it more. Okay, and of course I can make it look more pretty by probably giving it a little border radius, changing the color of it, uh, the color of the text here, and here are the color of the progress bar I have. So I can, let's go with this color. uh, Wait, why is it not changing? Okay, and the background color is gray. We can make it darker, or probably, yeah, this looks nice. And the progress bar, okay, this we are not showing up, that's why it is not it's immaterial, because we have hidden it, this my skill, so we don't want to see that. So this is about that setting. Now once I'm happy with the way it looks, I can simply copy this and right click on it and paste style. So convenient, right? Publish. Also, you guys are gonna like it because you are accustomed of working with the interface more compared to writing codes. But you should not shy away from writing codes. Even in this, there are options how you can make much better experiences for users, and codes can really help you with that. So I think that this gives you a quick overall understanding of how WordPress functions and where is the role of the page builder, allowing you to quickly build web pages, quickly build navigations. So your objective for today is to be able to at least build one solid landing page and utilize as many as elements which are available in the free version of it, right? So you'll be installing plugins, Elementor, you will be installing one theme, Hello Elementor, and sort of setting up your WordPress so that it shows up a static page as a landing page, at least have 2 links, home and blog, be able to create a hero section with a custom header and some text, and then something like this can be done. Okay, I would want to see more elements being used here while building up the web page, right? Just try to explore this as much as you can, and after that we will get into more complicated dynamic stuff. So whatever we built so far is static, right? These are also static, but what if these are separate posts being fetched based on the taxonomy? So that is something which we will reserve for tomorrow. I hope by the day ends today, you have good control over the static pages and you are familiar with the elements which are there in Elementor. Okay. Any questions? Thank you so much. Go back to your seats and try doing this.